second.
This is the BAM Podcast with Malcolm Springer.
The BAM Podcast is brought to you by Nashville Jam Company. Stop by their location in Berry Hill, Tennessee, or visit NashvilleJamco.com. When you check out your order, show proof of subscription to the BAM Podcast and get 10% off your order.
I'm going to get that fly as soon as he
And then
lands.
LA.
I'm going to get
As soon
him.
as you land, you're dead.
He's dead.
That'll be good for the podcast.
Yeah, bam.
Now we just murdered a fly, and I have no guilt.
Okay, be still. Be still. Be still. I'm serious. I got him.
Oh, was it? You did. Right on my head.
Did you get that on camera?
Did you get that? Oh,
that's funny.
That's a great way to start it. And with that,
Brad Manning, how in the world are you? Are you good?
Are we starting?
Yeah, we're starting.
Good. We're rolling.
Hey,
I like the sound of my voice in here.
I have a lot of questions for you, like that, because I don't ever get to ask you things because we're always talking about. Well, to be honest with you, we're always talking about God, crazy relationship that we're in, or trying to figure out how women think, or trying to figure out who in the music business is any honest anymore. My first question is you never have told me this. What made you want to be a vocal coach?
Oh man, I mean, to do that, I got to rewind the tape a little earlier.
Okay, cool. But first, I want to say, when I introduce Larry Franklin to people, I go, this guy is the greatest fiddle player in the history of the world.
Wow.
And what's funny is, I'm not lying. And when I talk about you, I go, this is the greatest vocal coach in the history of the world.
Oh, stop.
And that's not exaggerating. Bull.
Stop.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to tell you, you coached me on your record, I sang backgrounds for about 10 minutes. And I would say that I was singing about 10 times better than I ever have sung in my life. And I wish I'd have videoed you coaching me. But anyway, what made you want to get into it? Let's rewind, a little bit.
Yeah, so let's rewind the tape here. 7 years old, my little sister singing, Delta Dawn, what's that fly where you have on? As my dad is driving, my as you know, my dad passed away when I was like 9 years old, got killed in a deer hunting accident. And one of the few fond memories I have of him, because he was hard, man. He was abusive. He would never, I can't remember doing anything nice for me, taking me to fishing, and he would like, you tangled up your rod. Here, throw it up. They throw the rod in the truck. You ain't fishing anymore. I'm 7. I don't know what I'm doing, okay? Just teach me how to fish.
It's funny, but it's not sad.
But I have a fond memory of him driving over this Bronco, and I remember driving over cactuses and everything, the old school Bronco, and we're playing Delta Dawn, my sister singing. I'm like, I wish I could just sing like that, but I couldn't sing in front of him. And then I remember Olivia Newton-John, if you love me, let me go. Or in that song,
wow, yeah.
If you don't, then let me know. The guy, all this bass going. They had those bass harmonies in there. Right. It was so funny, so cheesy. And I'd try to sing the low and the high part, and I was goofing off. And my brother, I can't believe you like country. This bum is shiz. Other word, we say shiz. I don't know what that means. What is shiz? Shiz. It's some stuff that mixes for drinks. Anyway, so my brothers would make fun of me, like listen to Pink Floyd and all this stuff, and all this dark rock music, and I didn't like it at the time. And then I got older, and I kind of liked Billy Joel, and I started liking Scorpions, and I started liking Journey. It went down this thing. But right, and this is after my father had passed away when I was 9. I started listening to different music. But then at 10, I saw an Elvis Presley movie, and I was freaking out. So somewhere on this podcast, if you want to put a little link to my SoundCloud.
Yes, of course.
I did a version of this, and I'll tell you about this a little bit later. But I was, we might have to do this a couple times here. Part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. What happened is, I watched the movie. I just thought he was so cool, the master of cool, and I still think he's the leading swag master ever.
He is.
Nobody had more
Presley
cool than him. He was just so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. He's just so much swag. Well, I get this greatest hits Elvis Presley, and it's got a monster couple, and I just thought it was so cool. He sang and Since My Baby Left Me, and all these songs, right?
Right.
So I'm at this sixth grade talent show, and I'm 10 years old. Got my leather jacket on, white T-shirt, collar up, and I do the little pose, and I go, "You ain't another mother hound dog," and I'm shaking, right? And the girls are screaming, and I said, "There's something to this. I like this. Okay, all right, just be Elvis, you know." So I kind of wanted to be Elvis for a little while. I learned the whole. I still remember the amber covered, pretty boy. I wanted to be as cool as him, and then my family moved. My mom got remarried. We moved when I was 11 years old to North Ogden, Utah. And everything was about sports. And I played soccer, and I got really into all of that. And sports and getting into trouble. Throwing rocks at cop cars. I mean, can you believe I did that?
Gosh, I couldn't see you doing that at all.
Rotten apples, throwing them out, and then laughing because the big fat cop, sorry if you're fat. And the guy was fat. And he's running, and he's chasing us through and we're laughing. I can barely run because I'm laughing so hard. Get back here, you stupid kids. You know, jumping over fences. Well, that was my life. And then in high school, I got asked to sing for like a musical theater thing, and I couldn't sing, and I took these lessons with this lady, and she helped and hurt me. Meaning, she was well, I can't sing like that. Nobody can. Nobody should. But it was so much technique that it's actually erases my personality. So I never want to do that. And then I discovered Prince.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, man, this guy's so cool. But all I knew is I had the two voices. Don't have to be beautiful. I can be it's 6 o'clock already. You know, I'm down there, right?
Right.
I'm here or I'm here. And I couldn't get through that break. Then I took some lessons, and I started to find some blend between those two voices, but didn't quite get it really until I was 25 years old. I went to take my first lesson with Seth Riggs, and he goes, "Well, see what's happening here is your voice. There's two voices. You got chest voice, head voice, and you got a voice in between there. It's called a mix, middle voice. Your vocal cords burst apart, and the falsetto, ooh, or they come together and they stretch and they go, and you yell. Well, you don't want to yell, you want to flip. There's a place in between. You go, oh, and I went, oh, I get it. And at that moment, I got it. I understood. I was like, you keep going on, and I didn't break. So I ended the one lesson going, where's my break? I don't have a break. Singing high is not harder, it's easier. And I started showing people what I learned, and I found out how to deconstruct it and do it quicker than I learned it.
But your technique of vocal lessons is, from what I have seen, and because I've watched your videos too, even though you're my friend, because I'll have a vocalist. I'll go, you need to watch this guy. He's one of my friends. You need to watch this guy, and you need to listen to how he warms up, because we've had singers come in here and not warm up. I'm like, listen, man, Brett Manning, I mean, you have to do this, you know. And then, you know, they go off in their car or whatever, and they do the technique because they feel silly doing it in front of people. But you designed this technique, and do you have like I know it sounds really ridiculous, but is there like a name for it, or did you just have your...
Well, he coined his term, but he didn't really coin it. He copyrighted it, but he got the copyright on, or a trademark on, speech level singing. And he was big about, you're not my organization. He had like 400 teachers at one time, associates, of which I was one. And then I pulled out because I was doing music more than teaching. I started doing that. And I don't have time to go back and forth and study with you. I'm one of your masters. So I don't get to choose that. You know, I have master associates. Benny just became a master. I didn't know if you know that.
Oh, I didn't know
He was
that.
really excited. He was almost crying when I told him, as I gave him the plaque and everything. And then Chanel's a master. And a couple of people who worked for me before, Shelby is a master, but very few masters. And I said, master means you mastered teaching, and you don't bestow that. Because so I see people teaching master class all the time. I said, oh, who made you a master? And someone said, who worked for me for a short time, and he's like, yeah, I'm teaching master class now. And one of my coaches, Benny, said to him, this other course, he says, so you're a master now. So when you go to your karate class, say, yeah, I'm a black belt. Oh, who tied that on you? I did. I went and bought a black belt and tied it on. I said, "You ain't a black belt.
I know how
somebody
that feels
has to
too.
give it to you.
Yes.
Somebody has to say,
Amen, brother.
You are a master, which you
Amen.
do because Peter
Called you
Collins.
that. That's right.
Peter Collins said, "You're a master." And everybody else you work with, you're a master. You don't choose that for yourself. It's bestowed on you. And anybody who claims it for themselves, you're a braggadocio. You got nothing. You got to claim. You don't have evidence for it.
That's a producer too. It's like, with Jeff Hansen, he's been on here. Mm-hmm. And Jeff, I thanked him on here for making me a producer because, but that's awesome that Benny's a master because he's worked hard for it, man.
So hard. Nobody's worked hard.
And it takes some, it's almost, our business, it's almost like the mafia. You have to be named. You can't just go, oh, I'm a producer. Oh, I'm a master vocal teacher. Oh, I'm a master of this. I'm a master of that. And I know that you, I've watched you over the years, and man, you stay, you're a man of God, and that's something I admire about you. And you raised your kids by yourself, and that's something else I really admire about you. And you're just a good man. Just a good man. I'm sure.
I return the sentiment hundredfold, man. You're one of the few great friends I have. Whether it's been a week
or
a year.
Yeah,
we're like pick up. Hey,
what's up, dude?
What's up, bro? And then I try to impersonate
so
you.
I know.
I gotta do my mouth. Hey, Brett. Brett, look. Here's the thing. There are only 200 good producers in this world, and I am one of them.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, but it's I feel sorry for anybody who would try to directly compete with your space because there is only one Malcolm.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, there's only one Brett Manning. I want to tell you, there's been some artists that's come through here, and I'm not going to say anybody that really need your help. and I plan on, as soon as some things change with their situation, and these are real famous people that I've been working with lately, that really need to just come over and get you tune them up. Because anyway, back to what we were saying about you. So, I want to talk about your company too, because you're an awesome businessman. What countries do you stretch out to? Because I remember you went over to Italy.
I went 7 years in a row to Italy. I've been to twice to Budapest. Pest. It's not Pest. Budapest. It's pronounced with SH. Just the way they pronounce it.
What language do they speak?
Hungarian. So if you say Yorogelt Magyar Kisnin Szépen, no, it's a little Hungarian. Can't believe I can still remember it. I'm getting coached to say good morning Hungary is Yorogelt Magyar, and she goes, no, Yorogelt Magyar. Okay, Yorogelt Magyar. Yorogelt Magyar. No, Yorogelt Magyar. And then I finally say Yorogelt Magyar. That's it. I say, I've been saying the same thing over and over again. And nothing changed. Why are you telling me that I'm not doing this right? What is going on? I've been saying the same thing. No, you said it different. More used to before. You said Yorogelt Magyar. Now you said Yorogelt Magyar. You're clowning me. You're clowning me.
We did have this guy over here. I didn't ever tell you about this, but this guy named Charlie. What Charlie spoke, he spoke Chinese. It's
Mandarin.
Okay.
So
here I am. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. And so I'm like, well, teach me some Mandarin, So every time he'd come by here, he would teach me some Mandarin. So here I am. I'm between here and Jackson, Tennessee at this gas station. Yeah. I'm getting some gas, and I see these Oriental people.
Okay.
So being me, I give them the whole, what was it?
Yao.
It was saying, hey, how
Ni
you
hao.
doing?
Ni hao ma.
That's what it is, ni hao ma.
Ni hao ma.
And I said that, and this old woman, she just started, giving me hell.
You speak Chinese?
No, and all these people were laughing, and this little old Chinese lady or whatever, or Oriental lady, was just ripping me a new one. And I just ran to my truck. I'm like, oh, sorry, because I didn't know it. But anyway. So,
did I ever tell you about Asian women? They start talking like this, then they get out, and their voices drop. You order Chinese food, and so, hey, I'm not. Yeah, okay, I'm making fun. All right, okay, I'm doing it. It's not politically correct, but it's funny. It's cute.
Yeah.
I think it's adorable. But this lady picks up the phone. She goes, hello, Golden Dragon, what you want? I said, I'm just saying exactly how she said. You want? I said, I'll take egg rolls. You want egg roll? How many? 2 orders. They have 2 each order. Yes, I'll have 2 orders. It's totally 4. Yes, I total 4. You know where you at? Yeah, you're by the Walmart. Okay, we by the Walmart. Okay, yeah, I know where you're at. We close at 10. Don't be late, all right? All right? I get that. Bring cash only because you're going to be late. And I show up 10 minutes. Why are you late? I told you not to be late, you know?
Oh, wow.
I go in there and anyway, it's so funny. But her voice is so low, you know? It's partly their language. And the women have this strong aggression because they have to be tough, you know? Tough culture.
I know this may be a little bit complicated for people that's going to watch this, but I want to know. How do you teach in another language, vocal lessons in another language? How do you get the thing across? Because the vowels are different.
The vowels are different, but
everything's just so different.
You know, I speak just enough Mandarin to get myself into a lot of trouble.
Right, like me.
Like I'll say some things like, no, you can't say that. But as a matter of fact, this is controversial, but it's fun. You know, I went out there, like, I was single at the time, and there's so many pretty Asian girls. I think Asian girls are so just extravagant. And I look at it and say, "Wo ya nuyen," like, I want a woman. Like, joke, just kind of joking around, playful, but that's pretty innocent. Right. Like, if I was in someplace, wow, I want a girlfriend. I want, "Wo ya nuyen." Oh, you must not say that. I said, "What is it? Why?" I said, "I want a woman." They go, "That means you want a prostitute."
Oh!
No, boo, 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 boo. Boo means no. So he said, boo, 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 boo. Wo xia he pijo. I want a beer. or baijiu is the other one. They're whiskey.
So do you teach? Do you have like people that work for you there? How do you do all that?
So I have associates out there in China.
Associates is what I meant.
I went out there in 2012 and again in 2019. I joked around and said, "I'm the one who brought COVID back." Not funny. But no, funny. I came back in October, early October. So I was fine. I was healthy. I didn't get anything. I wasn't in Wuhan.
Did they let you travel back easy, or did you?
Oh, no, it wasn't revealed yet.
Yeah,
so it was like about a month later, and some people, "Brett, hey, I'm fine. I'm healthy, okay? I didn't bring anything." But so I went on that trip in 2019. I went to Singapore, I've been there twice as well. Singapore, Japan, Seoul, Korea, and then Guangzhou. And so it was one of my longest trips, 17 days. It was so hard to be away from my kids. I was like, I can't do this.
Doesn't most of those artists over there sing in English, though?
A lot of them, some of them do speak in Mandarin, and they're like trying to coach them and say, "Let's take that lyric again." And I can pronounce it well enough. I mean, they think I speak good Mandarin, they say. I think they're tickling my ears and telling me what I want to hear. Right. But I probably don't know about 200 words, and that, if you could speak 200 words of any language, you can kind of fake your way. Like you remember I dated the girl Alicia from Italy, and she was a very sweet, pretty girl. And she got, "Cuánto casa la carne?" And how much is the meat? How much for this food? And she's asking me, and I'm saying, "Se lo so, amore che, forsiamo, dacci un po' di sole." She goes, "Solo qualche istante, zitti, stiamo a ascoltare." Io c'è la finestra, zitti, stiamo a ascoltare. Guardi questa terra che gira insieme a noi. Dacci un po' di sole. And I go, "She'll have the burger." And then we start laughing because what we're doing is quoting lyrics from songs.
Right.
So we weren't even
just
saying
messing with people.
Gibberish. So nobody knows what we're saying. They think I'm fluent.
Right.
But I speak enough Italian.
How many languages do you know?
So I know a good bit of Italian. From way back in the day, I knew Spanish, but I studied in school. But I remember, I always had a fascination for sound, making sound. So when I took Spanish, I'm going, "Que quiera dice?" And they go, no, don't say that. My Mexican friends, I boxed when I was in Marshall White Center, downtown Ogden, Utah. And they go, "No, say the que quiera dice." Say, "Que quiera dice? Que quiera dice?" So they said, like, it's all feels like one word. We learn languages like words, and you should. But even kids, they speak phrases. First they say, "Water," and "I want water." But they almost say the phrase like it's a word, like I've talked to you about how I like to sing phrases instead of words. Because when you sing, I'll give you an example. Coldplay, I hear some people, come up to me, yeah, tell you I'm sorry. I said, which your problem is you're singing the spaces. When people do learn other languages, they read or speak the spaces between the words. But the word is not si lo so amore che, it's si lo so amore che forsiamo darci un po' di sole. Sounds like one word.
Right.
And that's why it dances. People say it's so weird because it's blended. I said, so is English. You just
But
don't
you
realize
just don't
it.
realize it. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's
so...
why when people read, they're reading those spaces. And the people who, like, regardless of your politics, he speaks really well. Tucker Carlson, when he's I personally like him. You don't like him?
I do too. I think he's
love him.
amazing.
I think he's great. He's not afraid to call anybody, even on his own side, call him out.
If you want the real news, watch Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, he's a good.
This real news.
Yeah, yeah. But when he's on these shows, he'll be looking. He'll say, he'll be reading. You know that he's reading the teleprompter, but you can tell he's seeing entire sentences and saying the sentence, not reading the words as they come across the screen. Because we don't talk like this. But there are some people that just have this almost rigid cadence instead of seeing. Like, example, I tell people, I say, when you sing, are you reading lyrics on a page? Well, yeah. Even if it's memorized, well, yeah, just to be secure. I said, well, you can do that, but don't read a word. Don't read a word. Feel a sentence. And hold on, just a second. Where's my water? Here's my water. Now, you believed me because I just said that like a thought just came to me. I said, if you can sing the thought like it's the first time you've had the thought, just like, hey, where's my water? Hey, where's my water? Just looking for my water. Hey, where's my water? Looking for my water. You're just saying a line rhythmically and melodically. So I think of singing as melodic speech.
See, I learn from you every time I'm with you.
Oh
no, because I remember you were working a vocal on somebody one day. I forgot where we were. I think we were out there at Ronnie Honeycutt's place. And you said, hey, do you remember when you wrote the song? Mm-hmm. That's how you got to sing the song. Mm-hmm. You got to feel it to know. But that's interesting, though, because I often go, oh, yeah, and you taught me about the acting part of that. Because really, a vocalist is an actor, and you're acting the part. So imagine yourself in the video or that place that you're going to be when you want to sing this, or when you wrote it, or when you imagine being there. And that's what's fascinating is like the difference between the mind, how the mind works with the vocals is just fascinating to me. Like those days where you just can't get it, and you're wondering, and I'm sitting in a chair going, is it me? Is it that I'm not feeling it today, or is it them not feeling today? And then when you separate yourself from that, a lot of your vocal takes, like, wow, how can I get the best out of him without upsetting him? But you being like that point where you would be upset, but you were in control of it. And I think that's like an art in itself, trying to get your artists to do that. And I think that's why you bring the best out of vocalists to not only show them how to use the actual muscle, but how to use their mind, because you are a Jedi.
Oh, man. Well, one thing I appreciate about the way, let me brag on Malcolm here a minute.
Oh, easy now.
You say, hey, I'm incapable of embarrassment. No. So I just remember doing that. She sits and weaves, sky is needy, smothered under black and gray, endless haze. And you just, like the first time I did it, I didn't like it. We said, let's go do the whole song again. We did that with 2 different songs. We just did it and then scrapped it.
Right. And
that one, the second time, you did this. And we both knew the first one wasn't going well, but let's do it. And he said, let's just go ahead and do it again, the whole song. I know you got a better one. Cool. Right. And it's hard to produce me. I'll tell you why it's hard to produce me. Because I'm the guy that knows more than anybody else in the room.
Right.
And that's hard. You can't teach me Russian, but I can teach you some Russian because I know a lot of Russian.
Right.
It's just the Lord's Prayer. Even the Lord's Prayer sounds angry.
In Russian.
Yeah, it's Russian.
Terrible.
But so if I know more, then how do I get that? Well, what is communication? we know that 90% or whatever, hey, first of all, before I say this, we say 90% of communication is nonverbal, but also we say that 94.3% of all statistics are made up on the spot, including the last two.
Right.
Including the last two. Both of those.
Right.
In other words, we make up things as we go, but they say 90% is nonverbal, I say 70%. But either way, I remember all it took, and I've told this to Jason and Sambo and to Noah, and they said, tell me, how did you get those vocals out of it? Because they're like curious. They said, this is such a life record. The Love Justice record. Just,
Right.
I mean,
Love
people.
it. It's freaking amazing.
Somebody
if you
sent
haven't
me
got it, you need to.
Yes, get it or never refer to yourself as a human being ever again. If you don't get it, you're worse than Hitler. Oh, that's extreme, maybe.
Yeah, that's extreme.
Yeah, that's extreme. You're almost as bad as him. No, so somebody just actually, a girl named Sydney sent me a text over just recently just saying, this record is like a life record. Every now and then I put it and I just go on this journey, so I love it. Even my kids still listen to it. They say, man, when I don't listen to it for like 6 months, I listen to all the feels come back,
Right.
But they said, how, what is it? Do we do it? And I said, I was doing that. And I remember hearing that first, she sits and weeps, sky is needy. And I look over, you're like,
Yeah, I couldn't help but smiling.
and it was just kind of grin like, you're in. And then suddenly, and I said, I can't really explain, but it's like, as a producer, you have the Elvis Presley swag. All you have to do is give a look. Right?
Thank you, man.
Because they used to say that Elvis Presley would see a girl and he'd just turn and he'd smile and they'd lose their minds. All they had to do was give them eye contact.
Did you see the movie yet? The Elvis movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mixed feelings. Mostly love it.
Well, I have my theory on. Okay, so call me crazy. I don't care.
Good job. Okay, crazy. You told me to call you crazy.
I know that well, me and Tiffany went to see it like a late movie one night because her mother was in town to keep the kids, and we went over there to that one out there, and we saw it at the the one where it's on the walls too. Have you been to one of those yet?
No.
Oh, you gotta
like a
go.
surround theater where you see everything.
Yeah, but it's an HDMX something. I got it. Man, you got it. It's out there at Oppie Mills.
Okay.
But the video, the picture's not just up here. It's on the walls beside you. So I look over and this guy's walking beside me on the wall.
You punch him.
It's really weird
what?
because they use the side walls as projectors too. So I guess there's one coming across here and coming across there. And the movie's in that, and really, to be honest with you, at first it kind of threw me a little bit, off balance because I was like, "Whoa," But and you haven't been to the 4DX either, have you?
No.
Oh, Brett, you got to go, man.
I'm legally blind in my right eye, so I'd be sitting there like,
no, the 4D. You know what it does? Your chair's doing like this the whole time.
oh yeah. I've been
And
actually
there's
been one
wind.
of those.
The wind is
The wind. Yeah.
If it's
I've been
raining,
there.
okay,
Yeah.
you've been there. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's raining, it's you can feel the mist coming
humidity.
out.
Yeah, mist, yeah.
Anyway, but we saw it, and after the movie, I told her, I said, that's not how. I don't think that's exactly how it happened with Elvis. But anyway, we'll get off Elvis. But I don't think Elvis passed away until a couple years ago.
Really?
I don't think he died. No, he didn't die. They put him. He wanted to get away from the world. He wanted to retire.
That does
and he had
make
money.
sense. He was so beat up. You know?
He was just tired, and
They worked him to death.
Because if you notice though, Priscilla too, she kind of went off the map. So nobody knew where she was because she was with him.
Yeah.
And but I got the call a couple years ago that he finally passed away.
Wow.
And because and it was shortly after that, the guy who was his guitar player, of course, he knew Honeycutt and all them talked and then he said he passed away shortly after that. So that was his best friend. Elvis was his best friend. He said he talked to him every day on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was a thing where he went up into this a studio in Michigan, of all places, in Detroit, Michigan. Some hole-in-the-wall studio. This guy comes in, looks just like Elvis, puts down this Elvis cover. They took it and they freaking did the vocal analyzation on it, and it was him. That was about 10 or 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And But anyway, I think he lived up in Canada. I don't know. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I don't care. Because, well, if you know some of these guys who was in his band, and when you have one look at you and go, you know, when James Burton goes, hey, he's still alive, Malcolm. I know. I'm going to go to the press and tell him. He goes, go ahead. Everybody think you're crazy anyway.
I mean, I've heard so many people say they've seen him and goes, this Elvis. The thing I used to joke around, I say, I'm kind of fond of conspiracy. Are you conspiracy nut? Everybody says you're conspiracy. No. I says I'm fond of them. I think about half of them are true. I just don't know which half. But I like to say, you know, even if we don't have to go down there, but if we were to talk about 911, people say, oh gosh, 9/11 conspiracy. I said, what's the most surveilled place ever in the world? The Pentagon. Right. And you don't have one camera of a plane coming down slow and boom, hitting this thing. You see something that looks like a flash going.
Not even a cell phone.
Can't I have some level of incredulity? Because there are about 6 cameras per square inch in Washington, D.C. How many cameras per square inch? That means every angle is covered because anybody comes, we got to catch them.
But we never seen a video of that thing hitting the building.
We never seen the video of one coming down and hitting the Pentagon.
So you think it was a missile?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was too.
Yeah, absolutely. A plane would have it would have hit that and disintegrated.
Oh my God! And
it's the Pentagon.
You would have
steel walls. It would have been just. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. People say, "Oh," I said, maybe your ability to have incredulity is off.
Right.
Maybe if you look at the evidence instead of just saying, just believe what we're being told.
Right.
Well, Fauci said a lot of stuff, and then he came back and said something different. And we saw his private emails. And
that guy's so full of
which Fauci? Somebody said, I said something about that on social media, and I rarely talk about that because I know it's such a hot button. Somebody said, Brett, the pandemic's real. I said, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about that. I just said, which Fauci am I supposed to believe? Brett, stop arguing against the pandemic. I said, you are attacking something that's not there.
Oh, I know.
I'm asking which one. Answer my question. Or once I said, like, why do I have to be giving into rules that make no sense? Don't you ever question people who give you rules that don't make sense? Now, I told somebody, I said, now, I hope this doesn't sound too crass. I said, I went to a restaurant and said, so what if they told me that I had to stick my finger up my butt when I walk in the restaurant? That's our rules. Follow our rules. You do that or you don't come here. Because when you tell me to wear a mask so I can walk 8 feet, sit down and take my mask off, explain how that makes. Sir, this is our policy. I don't care if it's your policy.
Right.
Make sense out of it. Explain it. I can't. You won't. Okay. What if I just do this? My mask is in my car. I don't want to get it. I'll hold my breath. And then I had a big sweatshirt. I'll put the sweatshirt. This hoodie is 3 times thicker than a mask. I'll put this over my face. No, you must have a mask. So it's not the principle of what a mask could do. It's the fact that you're obedient. You're obedient. And you want to shove these rules down my face. I'm not going to do it. And I said, never walking in there. So bye-bye, frothy monkey. Never going back there again. Because of that. Because I thought it was stupid. And you knew I used to go there a lot.
You did. Matter of fact, that's how I found out about the place.
Yeah. And I don't go there anymore because I said, this is stupid. I end up going in there, got my mask. I said, okay, good. Now look, I'm sitting down. So as soon as I sit down, the COVID molecules go, hey guys, viruses go, hey guys, he's sitting down. Leave him alone. Back up. If he gets up with that mask, we're going to attack him. You get up with that mask, I'm going to get you. That's how stupid it is. And they know I'm right. And when a person knows you're right and you show them evidence and shove it in their face and they sit there but we're told, because when I was in China, people say, one guy told me, I said, so what do you believe about God? He goes, well, they told us we're, who do you mean they told us? Well, the government tells us to question things. We believe in science. I said, well, okay, what science? The 20-year-old science or the 20 years ago from now that disproves everything they're saying today?
Right.
And he goes, well, I guess it's, I said, is it agnostic? And I said, he goes, no. I said, atheists? I think we're atheists. That's what he said. I think we're atheists.
I mean, what the heck kind of comment is that?
Yeah. I think we're atheists. we have been told this is what we are. And I said, but they tell you to doubt. And I said like this, and it just came to me like inspiration. I said, Joe was his name. I said, sorry, Joe, just mentioned you. There's a lot of Joe, so you don't know which one. I like three different Joes.
Right.
Joe. I said, do you ever doubt your doubt? And he was like,
What do you say?
wow. He just sat there and went, wow, I have to think. I said, do they ever tell you to doubt them? Did they ever tell you to doubt them?
Right. What do you say?
I says, because the fact is, you've been believing in a God all along. And the God you believe in is your state.
Right.
Your government that tells you. When a government tells you and says, don't question me because we are the government, it is so funny that people, the average person, you say, do you trust government? No. Do you trust this saying from the government? Well, they're experts. I listen to the experts. Do you? Do you really? You listen to the experts? If you get opposing information, are you capable of embarrassment for believing something stupid? Because I've had to go back there. I mean, the 9/11 thing. I had to go back and, no, it's a lot of collusion. And it is a lot of collusion just because that's...
So do you feel that the 9/11 thing...
Oh, yeah, inside.
See, I think so too,
Inside.
man. I didn't
Inside.
for years,
Yeah.
and then I saw a couple of things, and I went, wow, there's, But when I did see it happen, though, I remember I went... It went straight down like a demolition. I mean, the buildings went. I mean, that doesn't look like a dang plane.
No, and I can say the twin towers falling. I can see the reasoning behind it, even though I don't think it was. I think it was a demolition.
Right, I do too.
But the reason I think that those two were a demolition is because Building 7 was.
Right.
They said pull it. Why that building? It reminds me. Do you remember in what is it so good? It was with the Hulk and all the other guys. Avengers.
Yeah.
Remember when he picks up Loki, says, "You can't do this to me. I'm a god," and he picks him up and he goes, he goes, "I'm a god." He just beats the crap out of him, and then he's sitting there, and then one of his own guys there, and he goes, "I'm just gonna punch you for that." He goes, "Koosh," and you too, even though it was one of his own guys, he just straight arm punch him. That little afterthought, just. Yeah, you're here. I'll punch you too. That's what it reminds me. Like the first they bring down these buildings, and Building 7. Let's
pull the plug.
Yeah, pull that.
Just pull the plug.
Hey, pull that one up too. Well, what was in that building? What kind of records did they need to hide?
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, governments have for years, all through history, they've hidden records. The Benghazi stuff. I mean, the whirlybirds were up in the air. And I have friends, they're special force. These guys.
I know them.
And one of some bad friends. And one of my friends said that my friends were in the air, and they're on there, and they get a message from the commander-in-chief said, stand down. I'm commander-in-chief, and stand down. Shame on you, Mr. President. But you know what? Shame on a bunch of them in the past.
Right.
Shame on the guy who sat there and kept reading to the kids while the buildings came down. That's just weird. That'd be like, what?
Yeah, the reaction should have been different to me. Somebody said, you got to see his reaction when he was told. It's like, I mean, my reaction would have been, children, listen.
I'm the president of the United States.
I'm the president of the United States, and I have some business I got to take care of.
Absolutely.
And I would have left. But I didn't. You know how I feel about that president, and you know how I feel about a bunch of them. But and the thing about it is, it's sad because our country. Well, you haven't seen the podcast yet, so I know you're on here, but you ought to watch the Scott Shepard podcast because Scott was a Black Hawk pilot that was medevac. He went over and he saved lives instead of taking lives, and I thought that was so good. And it's our biggest podcast yet. I think we got 60,000 something views.
Wow.
It was, to me, spending time with him because he's a friend I grew up with. And we had to sit down and talk to him. And just the things that happened, though, Brett, over there. He's like, it was a waste of money. And then us pulling out like we did was unreal. He's like, you know what? He goes, imagine me sitting here. I did all those years over there in Afghanistan and watching them pull out and leaving like billions of dollars worth of gear.
$85 billion of stuff. You're crying about a $5 billion wall and you leave $85 billion of high-tech weapons to our enemies. It's not just the money, it's high-tech weapons.
It's they can
to the most oppressive government in the world, the Taliban.
And they can back engineer that stuff and have it up on us, you know. That's the problem I have with it. But me and Tiffany was seeing a thing on it, watching it with Scott. I think Scott was, about them and them throwing, like when they backed out, they were throwing babies over that fence. Like literally throwing little babies over that fence. Some of them, they were setting on fire. Babies, little babies. I mean, how... And we did all that and went over there after knocking down our own buildings, blamed it on, I shouldn't say it on here. I'm just going to say, I don't know what happened, but it seemed like it was awfully staged and everything kind of like, I can't say that either because they will, dude, you got to watch what you say on this. It's bullshit because you know what? Because honestly,
fascism is when you can't
have
have an opinion that differs from a mainstream narrative.
And when you're scared to ask one of your close friends that's on your podcast an actual question about things that are real, and everything that they're showing us is not real. Right. And then you got half the population watching freaking CNN or whatever, you know, and they're believing this, you know, they're believing that all this is happening or how it's happening, you know.
And the fact that we have to talk cryptic
is ridiculous.
You know what? You know, when I see a post that said this post is censored and find out why, that's the one I want to watch. Right. Every time when he says, before you look at this post, you know, see why or watch anyway. Do not trust this is partially false or false information. And I go through there. This ain't false. This ain't false.
It's funny. There's a pastor that's up there. I think it's in Gallatin. He's in Gallatin, and he's amazing. You know. He had this posted. I mean, he was going off about monkeypox and all this stuff. I mean, he's just a class. You can tell he's a class A dude, man. He's just like going Fearless. Nuclear. Yeah. And I was laughing because I'm going to try to get him on here because I wasn't going to try to get someone but that big of a religious statement. But I think he'd be good because he is like the definition of a Christian hellraiser. I mean, seriously. I mean, no, he's badass. So I was like, and he's just on there, and I'm like, this thing's already got like you can tell it's got like 150,000 views on it. And he's just ripping everything you're not supposed to say on YouTube. He's saying it, and you know, sure enough, they took that video down like 2 hours later.
Just like that.
But it's ridiculous
so
that we
watch
can't
it on Rumble.
Because, you know, it would be more politically correct to say something sexual on my podcast than it would be to say what really is happening. Isn't that pathetic?
Yeah. To say that you can't actually say something that is clearly and evidently true, like chemical castration. Now, I haven't given any context to those words, but we know what we're talking about. Chemical castration to kids.
Because it's happening.
Because it's happening.
It's happening.
Chemical castration to kids. And you talk about it and suddenly you're hateful. But you're doing it.
Right.
And for me pointing that out, like if somebody goes and I'll give you an example. I got a threat on Instagram. You heard about New York, that guy got out of jail and he sucker punched the old man, boom, and that guy's in a coma. You heard about that? His brain
I haven't.
So the picture of it's brutal. He just walks up behind a random guy and just boom, jacks him from behind, not even seeing to his face, comes up behind, boom, the guy falls down the ground. And I said, what a coward. And it says, and then get this, I got the screenshot. It says, go back and you may want to change this. You are threatening your account. Basically, we can delete your account if you can do. We've gotten harassing comments like this before. This is considered harassment, and you must go. And so what I put is, so I went back and changed it. I said, and I spelled cow, and then I put herd. This guy is a cow herd. I said, you guys can figure out how to blend this. No, I said cow ward, the word.
The BAM podcast is brought to you by National Axe VIP. For deals on your favorite artist meet and greet packages, go to national-axe.com. Now, let me ask you the question of the podcast, and that is interviewing famous people about their views on extraterrestrial life. And, Bigfoot, we'll stay away from that one because I got a feeling you're from Utah and you're a believer.
Possibly. Yeah. I think I've just heard too many stories about something out there.
Yeah. Bigfoot's real. It's just an animal.
Yeah.
It's not an interdimensional being. It's just an animal.
Yeah.
But what about this thing that's come out in the press about, like David Faber? You've seen all the videos, hadn't you?
I've seen some of them.
Well, David Faber was a pilot. I don't know what in the Navy, which that's what my dad wanted me to be. Wanted me to be a Navy pilot. But anyway, I think it was Lieutenant David Faber, or maybe it was Captain David Faber. Anyway, it doesn't matter what his rank was. He has videos, and some of the other pilots do, of these extraterrestrial aircraft. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're extraterrestrial, that's the question.
Yeah. Or are they government?
Well, nothing we have technology-wise can do what they do.
Yeah, they move like a flash of a second.
But the thing is like, and I definitely believe, okay, so I want to get your take on it first, and then I'll tell you my opinion, because I think that what's happening right now is completely biblical as far as what the book says is going to happen, what this book says happened.
The apocalyptic nature of things right now.
I feel that there is, like in the Gnostics, it says, that the Antichrist would come from the stars. Well, this is the perfect setup for it. As far as some dude lands on the the White House lawn in his spacecraft and goes, hey, that guy named Jesus? Yeah, well, that was me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's off to the races because how we've seen how weak-minded humans can be about the following thing. And controversial things that doesn't really make sense. But you should see these videos if you haven't seen them. And then during the election, the Pentagon releases that we do have aircraft that's not of this world. We have them. And that made me go, oh, so they're announcing it right in the middle, and nobody paid attention to it.
Will Smith shot one of them down. Remember?
I think so too. and you know what? But
and
that's
punch that thing.
Do you think that this disclosure thing? Do you think it's a setup for something that's not? That's to lead us in the wrong direction.
My answer is going to be very unsatisfying.
Okay. Who
knows?
Oh, come on! You can't be one of those guys.
Who knows? Meaning. Here's what I think. Here's really what I think. I think people with great big heads and skinny necks and all those little things and probing people up their tailpipe to check them out and doing whatever they're doing to them, I think it's some kind of weird demonic manifestation. And I heard a story with Walter Martin, who was part of that archaeology thing. They called him the Bible Answer Man. He's part of the reason I became a Christian. I was listening to his radio program, and he said, talked to some guy who came out of the cult that I was raised in. So if you're part of that, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, and I'm not sorry, because that's my story. But I came out of this religion that I believe was a cult, and he was talking to another guy, and he said, yeah, I don't believe in this anymore. I read your books, and I was, hey, that sounds like me. And the guy goes, and I'm reading the Bible now. So, hey, that sounds like me. And he said, so what do I do now? What do I do? And he goes, so you repented of your sins? And he said, well, yeah. I mean, reading the Bible just makes me want to repent. He goes, good. And he goes, well, what do I do now? And he goes, ask Jesus to come into your heart, and he will. And I went, whoa. I fell in my kitchen. Like just an experience. And I went from being the worst kid that I could possibly dream of being.
Really?
To having ethics. And,
really?
And
I mean, that's really,
I was
crazy.
wild. I slept with way more women than I want to tell you. A number that I can't count, but I can estimate. That's all I want to do. And then I said, I'm not doing this anymore, man. I don't want to do this. And yeah, I messed up a couple times, more than a couple. But the difference is my direction was, I'm going this way, kind of sometimes looking off to the side where I shouldn't. Before, I was never going this direction, because there's 2 words for sin. You know that? You know, people say, anyone who sins, if anyone who continues to live in God, 1 John says, anyone who who is born of God, it says, born of God. Interesting. Born again, born of God, it says. Anyone who's born of God doesn't continue to sin. What? He says, but then it goes, but if anyone does sin, John 1:9, that famous John 1:9, drop to your knee, Johnny. If you confess, he is faithful and just to forgive you. That verse, he's faithful and just. John 1:9, your sin. Well, it says sin, and in sin, what is it? Well, one word was, sin was, if anyone is anomia, anyone who's born of God is not anomia. Anomia, a mean anti, like atheist, right? Nomos, the word for law, he's anti-law. We're lawless. No one who is born of God continues to be lawless. He has a conscience now. He's now aiming at a target. And if he falls short of that target,
he misses mark.
Sin, yes. And that's a different word, hamartia. So unbelievers are anomia, not aiming at the target. Now, some of them are aiming at the target. They just not carrying
that's
a
so interesting.
bow. They're not carrying the right bow. They're aiming the target with themselves, and they think they're hitting it. And that's the problem, is that a person thinks I don't need a savior. I'm a good person. Are you? Are you a good person? Well, yeah, I'm a good person. Well, let's go through the commandments. How many have you broken? Oh, man, all of them. Just about. I mean, the Bible says Jesus said, if you hate a brother in your heart, you've committed murder. In your mind, in your heart, in your mind, you've committed murder. Some guys told me, God doesn't care about what you think. I said, he cares about what you think, what you say, and what you do. All 3 with equal ultimacy. Because what you think is as often reflected in what you say. And what you say, you'll actually end up doing. Even if sometimes, like Augustine says, he said, I didn't commit certain sins because the opportunity didn't afford itself. So a lot of people who see, a lot of people who think, look, I've never done that. I say, you've never been tempted with that. Some of the things I've done, I was like, it's because the temptation was overwhelming. Certain things I'm not tempted to.
Right.
I don't like guys. I like them as brothers,
right,
but I don't ever want to have sex with you. You're a handsome devil.
Thank
but
God.
I don't. Yeah, thank God. She would ruin me.
I'm too old for this. I'm not going to say what I want to say on here, but it's pretty funny.
Once I had the best, I don't want the rest.
I wanted to get into that because it's like, at first I was like, I want to kind of keep religion out of the thing. But then what happened was I noticed that my podcast, God always comes up.
Yeah.
And
he has a habit of doing that.
Yeah. For some reason. And it's like, because we have a funny thing. I mean, we rip on, Hunter Biden smoking crack and stuff like that. And we have fun with people doing stupid things, and Junior is not always, very, how do you say it? He's not always, very politically correct about anything, So, I mean, to the extreme to some point. But I want to see like your. So you think that the alien thing is like me? I think they're the Watchers. And I think there's some evil ones, and I think there's some not so good.
Well, I do know about the Watchers, and that's that. So when we hear in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then He created man on that one day. But then we hear about this word called Nephilim, and like, what is this all about? And I have listened to an embarrassing amount of hours on the teaching of Nephilim. That's one of the simple joys of being single. I've been single for a little while. Willing to undo that singlehood if it's right. But I love to listen to stuff. I don't like to waste my time. Right. So I'm always learning. I can only practice piano 2 to 4 hours a day. And I'm getting good. You should hear me play.
I
now.
bet you are.
Chopin
I've heard you.
But it's gone. Like from when you knew me, I was here, and now I'm here. It literally is.
Right.
It's hard for me to even think, who am I now? Because I've just transferred. Because I have time to do it, and I've been covetous my time because I think there's an hourglass and how much salt is there left in the end of that thing. So I'm doing this. So as I'm studying about the Nephilim, I'm thinking, this is not what I thought. We hear that God created. We don't know everything He created. We don't know everything. And so, these angelic type of beings. I mean, I've seen some video where some guy says, I'm up here in this plane, and he says, I'm looking up, and all of a sudden I see these things called sprites. They go, and they show up, and they balloon out. And these guys a couple of them are agnostics. One guy's a believer, and the guy's marginal, I believe in God, whatever, but my own way, I don't know. And they all look at each other and say, what was that? And it looked like an angel being dispatched. And people call on angels. How many people have said they've seen angels?
Right. Well, the Russians that first occupied the space thing up there.
Yeah.
I know you're not a big believer in all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they said that there was 7 angels that came to the windows of the spacecraft, and they were just out of low Earth orbit or whatever, or higher, whatever. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Low Earth orbit. So, and that these beings came up to the actual freaking space station, and they have pictures of them, and be honest with you, it gives you chills.
Wow.
Because at first they were like, hey man, these guys are hallucinating.
Yeah.
But then the one that came down in Jerusalem years ago, Noah Henson was with me when this happened. And me and Noah sitting there watching this thing at my studio in Missouri, and I'm like going, oh my God, how can you deny this? And it's like over the dome of the rock,
Wow.
And it's sitting there, and it looks like an angel. It's like sitting there flapping his wing, and he goes, that looks like an angel. I went, yeah. And then the thing goes, and it goes straight up so fast, it's like faster than a bullet,
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, that's what they are. He goes, yeah, but I'm going to tell you, they're not good.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, you don't know. I mean, you don't know, because here's my problem, and here's what gets funny about me, because I don't care. I have to ask these questions. What do you think that aliens do all the time? If they're here hanging out, if they're in the ocean, if they're bringing Antarctica, are they shooting pool with each other? Are they, are they watching TV? Are they sitting there watching old David Letterman? Are they, what are they doing in their spare time? Are they constantly running experiments? And here's my other alien question for you. Do you think they went to like a flying saucer dealership? Yeah, I want one of those Tic Tacs over there. That looks pretty fast. How fast does that thing go? You know what I mean? I mean, there's some questions I have to ask. And we know that they're vehicles. They're there. I mean, we can do.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many pilots that have said things. I mean, airline pilots. I mean, here's what I think about all of it.
Okay.
That whatever we're being told is a fraction of what there is to know, number one. Number two, whatever we're being told is a misrepresentation of what they know.
Right.
Whoever they is,
Right.
3, that too many people have experiences that can't be discounted, because what is everything based on? Somebody said something, you believe something you read in a book. I said, you believe things you read in a book every day. I mean, everybody reads books. Well, that's just some book. Yeah, it's some book, all right. The 333 prophecies about Jesus, and every single one of them comes true. Do you think the Roman soldiers were, hey, guys, we got to fulfill this, man? Oh, we're supposed to, wait, hold on, this part, where's gamble for his clothes? We got to fulfill this. Come on, man. Wow. I don't think they were doing that.
No.
And then women whose testimonies, you had to have 50 women to equal one man's testimony, because they were pretty sexist at the time. They thought women. Right. But Jesus wasn't, because he's like, I got women hanging out with me for my ministry, because I honor them. They're glorious creatures. I made them. They're mine. And there is an order to, we talked about that, you and I privately, about orders and different things and how things work. But you got all these women that are the first ones to the tomb. Nobody would write that, because people would be too incredulous. So if you're trying to convince somebody and you're making up a book about somebody rising from the dead, you're not saying, and the women came first, and you can't trust the testimony of a woman. But that's who came because it happened against all reason and human rationale. So when things happen and people go, I wouldn't have done it that way. That's one way you know is the truth. And I'll give an example. I was in China and I said, how do you overcome fear? Now, how would you think I would say stage fright? How do you do it? Paralyze fear with persistence. Be tough. Study martial arts. I do a lot of martial arts.
Right.
I love martial arts.
That's right.
Oh, I love martial arts.
I'll get to your suggestion.
Do not chase me because I will run from you.
Do not chase me because I will run.
I will run, and you better hope you don't catch me. And because if you catch me, you're in trouble. Because guess what? A martial arts guy will never chase anybody. So last guy who shoved me, I just said, hey man, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. And I was at brew house.
Right. I think you told me about that.
Yeah, and I told, and the bartender said, he said, what are you going to do? Kind of big kid. And she says, he's going to break your arm. I said, you're going to break my arm? I said, well, I don't want to, but you can test my resolve if you'd like. But I wouldn't recommend it. The way this is going down in your mind is not the way this is going down.
It's not going to happen this
way.
And
I'm talking to him, and I find out he's been in a fight with his wife, and he's picking. I said, look, you're about ready to leave here in an ambulance. I'm going to leave you here in a cop car because you got in a fight with your wife. That's not smart. Don't do that, dude. I said, look, put his tab on mine. I'll pay his tab. You and I can talk. And then I bring her and said, don't hit me, man, because I promise you, I'll break you. If you hit me, I'm going to break you. Right. And I go in there, and I give him a little hug, and then he apologized. Thanks for paying my tab, man. That was cool. You didn't have to do that. He goes, sorry, man, I was being a dick. I said, you were, and you almost got yourself hurt for it. And he goes, man, how would you have broken my arm? And you know how I would. Yeah. So I show him several different arm holes. And he goes, and he's a big guy. He goes, oh, you would have broken my arm like this. And then you'll like this. He said, well, how did you know I didn't have some kind of game that I don't know some of this stuff? And I go, because people I train with don't act like you.
Right.
And it's like, all my friends went, ooh, that was nice. That was nice. And I felt like it was an inspired moment that he needed to hear.
Are you still training?
Oh, yeah. Not a lot, but I train.
Man,
I just try to maintain. I try to maintain the things I know.
I did a Krav Maga thing, and the thing is, my trainer just said, until you quit smoking for real, you know. This week has been the last I've smoked because I've got to quit because of doctor stuff. But you know, that's private stuff we talk about. Yeah. But yeah, I want to do the jiu-jitsu thing. I like the Krav Maga thing. But man, you know, I'm not much of a kicker, and most fights go to the ground. Most fights go to the ground, number one, and I'm a huge fan of Krav. I've had a little bit of it, but the one problem is like, you know, I was talking to my daughter, and she says, should I do that? And I said, you can. I said, but you're training for the 1/1000th percentage of confrontation. Why don't you do what's 99.999% of confrontation does not have to get violent? Somebody shoves me, I know the why. Kid shoves me, I do that arm drag that I showed you a long time ago. You shove me arm drag, and I'm behind him, right? And it's fast. And I've done it probably 20,000 times. So if they shove me, I know what's going to happen. Right. I even showed that dude that night at the bar. That dude, you put your hand on me like this, and I pulled him, and I said, "Now I got to choke. Now I got an arm break." And I showed him several things, and he said, "I said I've done it 10,000 times, so I don't have doubts about it at all. Confidence comes through repetition. Right. Yeah, and repetition where you're like, I don't doubt. Like a great guitar player, great piano player, they learned it so much and they played it right so many times they don't doubt, you know. Like Noah playing guitar, he doesn't doubt. He's like, whatever. No, he's like amazing. Crazy confidence. So but going back to that, what go ahead. I want to get I got to get what's his name the instructor out there. Look, I'm going to make time. Brad, Brad. How's he doing? Yeah, he's doing well. You know, he lives here now full time. He does. So he'll be easy for me to get hold of. Yeah, and he'd love to see you. He just enjoys you. Well, you know, anyway, that's beside this off the podcast. But I want to ask you: do you feel like you're training in that? Do you think it helped you with vocal training? And learning confidence? And I try to tell people that. Like, everybody's like, these musicians are so close-minded. And I was too for years, because you remember when I was so close-minded and bullheaded. I ain't got time to work out, you know. Man, now I'm freaking upset because I don't go to the gym because I got to get some things straight health-wise. So I'm really, because, people say they change, but they really do. They really do, man. And my relationship with Tiffany has brought me closer to God and brought me closer to people where I can communicate with humans a lot better. You know, being an alien and stuff. You know, I'm just saying, I can prove to you that I'm not from this planet by just looking at people twerk. When I saw it first time, I went, okay, I am from another planet, because there's no way my people would do that. But anyway, so anyway, let's get back to what you think about the alien disclosure thing. You just think it's like, do you think it's ridiculous, or do you think it's?
I think do
you think they are the watchers?
You can't ignore Area 51. You can't ignore that. And when I heard Walter Martin, the guy that kind of led me to Lord, on the radio talking about this, he said that he went to a site where they had a crash site, an unidentified flying object crash site.
Right.
That represented like a flying saucer. And he said it was as thin as aluminum and you couldn't dent it with a hammer.
What?
And this guy has such high integrity. I mean, he is so well known. The guy memorized huge portions of the Bible. Some people call him, oh, you're talking about here in Ezekiel 17, verse 56. And he just talked. And they said he didn't have anything notes with him. He wasn't sitting there typing it up. He just, because I saw him publicly speak, and he was just a steel trap brain. He was incredible mind. And he read all history, and he's familiar with languages and cultures and science.
Right.
But then they said that when faced with these demonic entities, the people who had confrontations with them and being probed, people being caught, somebody being oppressed by one, and this thing is interviewing him, and he said, so what do you think about Jesus? And this demonic entity freaked out, started just growling, and took off, just disappeared in a flash. It was gone. It was here and it was gone.
Right.
He hated hearing the name Jesus offended him. And I think that's true. I'm sure you and I have had the conversation of when you feel like you're being oppressed in your sleep and you're being held down, and if you can just say the name Jesus, it leaves. Right.
Well, and that's where it goes to biblical things about Satan and the demons that were cast into the earth. Mm-hmm. And now they know for a fact that there are places in the earth that are definitely hollow. And there's definitely places that you could support life, and there's definitely places that are the hollow earth theory. And look, I don't know. I just know that if you look at the missing persons that come up missing, this is the truth, Brett. You got to see this. We ain't got to show it again. I've already showed it on the podcast before. If you look at the map of where people come up missing, and you look at where they know the caves are in the United States, they all correlate.
That's creepy.
It's super creepy.
Yeah.
And the fact that the whole demons getting thrown into the earth, no matter what. Have you watched Jordan Peterson's Bible study?
I've watched quite a bit of it.
You have?
It's pretty fascinating.
I've went through it. This is my third time going through it because I've been busy lately. But usually on Sundays I'll try to do at least an hour or two because they're long. And it's for atheists, which there's some things that I'm kind of like, oh, Jordan Peterson, no, hang on here now. But then most of it, though, I'm going to understand why he's doing it to explain to these atheists like what the deal is. And I've talked about it several. If you haven't watched the Jordan Peterson Bible series, please do, because you'll understand how important the book is.
Yeah, I probably listened to about 8 or 9 of them. So quite a bit.
Man, it's just,
especially the Genesis ones in Genesis.
But when he starts the scientific thing, you can tell he doesn't really believe that way, but he's trying to tell these people so they will at least look at a creator that we are looking at, And anyway, I just think it's fascinating because when he gets to the book of Ezekiel, I can't wait to hear what he's got to say.
Oh, yeah. Will within a will.
Yeah, because if anything, am I an ancient alien theorist? I would say that, do I believe that Christ was an alien? Of course he was. He wasn't of this world. And we know now that, that can be created. The virgin can easily have a baby. And, the whole thing makes sense to me. But anyway, I won't carry on about that because I know you want to go up. Okay, here's a good question. I know that it's getting your time is.
What do we got?
What time is it?
What time we got?
2:15.
Yeah, I gotta leave.
Okay. So here is the ultimate question to you. You ready?
The ultimate question.
But this may be tough because I know how you believe in some things. And do you feel like when Elon Musk gets us to Mars, and we get there to colonize Mars, are you going to have seen success on Mars?
if people go to Mars, according to looking at from their presuppositions, not mine,
Right.
about space travel, which I'm extremely skeptical.
I love you so much.
Yeah. I got some stuff to show you off camera. You'd be like, that's a little crazy. But I know I can't even. I mean, we're talking to a guy real time on the moon. Who's the first guy to walk on the moon? Lance Armstrong. No, not Lance Armstrong. What's the other guy? Armstrong. What's his name? Armstrong. Was the guy walking on the moon? First guy? Armstrong, right?
Neil Armstrong. Yeah.
Neil. Thank you. Neil, I would think it's a guy holding the camera as he's walking out of the thing. One giant step. And then when the thing takes off and the camera's following it up perfectly, going, and it takes off and it doesn't leave a blast mark in the moon.
Right.
That's a little weird. And then hanging out with what's his face, you know?
We need to do a whole podcast on that.
Well, look. Here, Joe went one way and then Rogen went one way and then went the complete other way. I tell everybody, I said, I don't know. And in a way, I don't care. But I will say this, that if with their presuppositions, let's just say that everything is exactly how it looks, and okay, you can trust NASA 100%. NASA's never lying. They're telling.
Oh, I didn't say trust them.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying from their standpoint.
Right.
If I'm arguing from there, if I'm saying 100% trust everything I see from NASA, the problem you get to Mars, your bone density is going to just dissipate because it's so much smaller of a planet. According to their presuppositions, your bone density, and we don't know what man would become at that point. Plus, you're going to create these biodomes and these things. When I think about that, I said, that just sounds like the most miserable existence. It sounds like a prison of sorts. I mean...
Well, here's my thing on the Mars thing. We know what they're telling us. And that's it. Because the problem is we have these billionaires now that could create a capsule or a ship that could get up there. Maybe, I don't know. You hear all kinds of things. You get all kinds of theories. We can get there. God put it there. It was His creation too. But how the planet really is, we don't know. I mean, I watched the because Mars Perseverance or whatever. It will post like stuff itself.
Yeah.
And there'll be stuff on there. I'm telling you, there was a NASA scientist that said, hey, all this is just complete bull. Here's what really happened. This was a planet just like Earth at one time. Somebody nuked it. One nuke on one side, one nuke on the other, and one nuke in the southern hemisphere. And it is nothing but ruins is what we're looking at. And God, I think God Himself went, hey, man, sometimes I feel like that was what He was talking about with Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm telling you, not being a place here on Earth, but I believe crazy things. Like I think the Garden of Eden was on another planet. I don't think it was over there in Iraq. God would never have picked Iraq to be the place to put the Garden of Eden. Sorry,
unless it just got messed up. Well, here's one thing. Since then, what happens after they leave the garden? If it in fact is the river Euphrates where it's at. A big flood that probably changed everything.
That's true.
Big flood, and I know a lot of people who tell me, "Man, a big flood didn't happen. There's not enough water to cover the earth." But after when Job says, "Lord, you make the mountains rise and the valleys fall," and you got these things moving around, these tectonic plates that push mountains up,
right?
And we've seen islands pop out of the ocean just from volcanoes and all the other stuff, and things shifting around and moving around. I've been following this flood theology for a long time, and I do believe that the earth was completely submerged. I'm not even slightly embarrassed or unashamed or unwilling to talk about this with anybody at any time, no matter how smart they are. I've listened to Ken Ham, Bill Nye debate. I don't think Ken Ham was forceful enough. I think he was too polite. I think I've seen other guys that would just...
I know who you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, hey, I wanted to ask you one more thing about, did you see that they are finally, Turkey is letting them excavate the ark?
To look to find the ark.
Well, no, they know.
Ararat.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
You can see it's plain as day.
You can see the
and you can see and
dimensions.
they did the X-rays on it, man, or whatever. There's 4 levels, just like it says in Genesis. There's 4 levels, and it's the same dimensions. I mean, it says where it landed, and it's there, and I'm super excited about what they find. Of course, we'll probably know 2 years after they find it, what sucks, because, Turkey has a lockdown in their Muslim country, and it's why I was really, but I don't know why that would make any difference. In their Quran is like, still the freaking ark is in there, the Bible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm super excited about that because I want to find out who's excavating it, and I want to get them on here one of these days because I want to know what they really find because I'm super excited about it.
See, when you start studying stuff like that in Egypt and all this stuff and spacecraft that they had in Egypt and these pyramids that you can't put a single piece of paper in between. I mean, the things that we can't do today. When people say, you expect me to think a bunch of dumb goat herders build an ark? And I said, look who built these freaking pyramids. How did they build them? I mean, how did they build them? We don't know.
The same way that it says King Solomon had the demons help him build his temple because he had control over them. He had that ring, and that ring controlled the demons, and he made the demons come and help him build. Because if you look at the wall, if you look at that wall over there, what's it called? The Dome of the Rock, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you see that wall, how big those freaking rocks are, you're like, okay, so he had some kind of thing that God gave a mechanism to make these creatures, the Nephilim, help him build the actual temple of God. And then he released them from their service and they went about the earth. That's what it says in the Bible. But now in the Gnostics, it's funny because, the pyramids of Egypt, look, man.
Send me some links.
If they think that was built by men, they've lost their mind. I mean, I have Egyptian friends. Matter of fact, the store down here, the tobacco shop, they're Christian Egyptians. You got to kind of watch what your language in there stuff. So I'm always going in there going, I'm always having, hey, they're always getting on me about something because me, sometimes I just go off about things. And, but and they're really good people. But now, have you looked at Cairo? I mean, the same people who built those pyramids is not the same people who built that city. Not the same people. That was definitely the Nephilim. And it says that, in the Gnostics that...
You're going to have to send me a link. I got to take my son to football.
You got to go.
Yeah, I got to go.
Okay, listen.
It's good time to sign up. Let's do it now. I want to do a part 2 really bad.
Let's do a part 2 because, man, and you know what? I love you. Thank you so much for coming on here because, man, I'm super excited about people seeing it because people want to know the real you. And it's hard to get that. Sometimes I feel like I can get that better than anybody. But anyway, thank you so much, man.
Of course, I'm being so nebulous on so many things. Like, what does he really think? Let's say that's a 4-hour coffee date.
Right.
All right.